Friends, it is a great privilege for us that at a very short notice, Justice Arjun Sikri, who was till recently the judge in the Supreme Court and is a well-known author of many judgments on direct taxes, he agreed to join our seminar and give his keynote address to the participants.
I must congratulate at the outset the Tax Law Educate Society for organizing this talk on the budget, which was presented only yesterday. So within less than 24 hours, organizing such a talk and distilling the budget and its provisions and commenting upon that is a monumental task. And I know the esteemed speaker on the panel, it is a very easy and simple task as far as they are concerned, going by their wide experience. All the uh, uh, office bearers of the Tax Law Educators Society and their star of the day, who is always there every year speaking on such budgets, Mr. Dr. Garish Ahuja, and other persons who are on the panel. Uh, Let me start with one disclaimer. Of course, the persons who are all sitting here are the experts in the field in taxation laws, the chartered accountants, various chartered accountants and other tax practitioners who are sitting here. As Dr. Ravi Gupta pointed out, no doubt, as a judge of the High Court and then of Supreme Court, I have given many judgments on the in the field of direct taxes and even indirect taxes. But I'm starting with this disclaimer that I cannot claim myself to have that kind of expertise which you people have, because tax was only one of the uh, fields apart from other laws on which I was to deal with as a judge. And as you know, judges in India, they are journalists, they are not specialists, because we have to deal with all kinds of jurisdictions. And but as a student of the constitution law, as a student of political economy, I will try to give a different dimension to this and just raise the issues which the experts on the panel would be deliberating upon. And so, therefore, that would be my focus. The question that arises at the beginning, and a very big debate which is always there in respect of such budgets, whether this union budget is an annual ritual which has to be performed by the central government every year, and or it has some semblance of some significance. There are views on both sides. Now, generally, the views about the relevance and importance of annual budget are sharply divided, as I say. Some feel that the only aspect which has relevance for the citizens of the country, that pertains to the prescription of income tax rates, as to they look forward what is going to happen and how we are going to pay taxes in the next fiscal year. Added to that may be some legal provisions, particularly for the practitioners and the businessmen, that legal provisions which come in the form of amendments to the Finance Act, to the Income Tax Act, and other maybe indirect taxes also. So, if we say that after all, the budget is really a statement of Government of India's receipts and expenditure for the current year and an estimate of receipts and expenditure for the next fiscal year, by itself, it may not be capable of taking care of all our economic ills. So that is one way of looking at the budget. So it is treated as or dismissed as the annual ritual. But then there is a other very strong view on the other side, which I feel that this society and all the other associations we have joined, who have joined in organizing this seminar or this webinar, they feel so. And that is that the annual budget has its own importance, as it carries along with it, which is very important, and which is the significance as far as this year is concerned, economic policy and fiscal thinking of the government. So I again emphasize the word economic policy and fiscal thinking of the government, which may become a barometer to see as to whether government is taking desired steps that would lead the country to a desired economic progress or recovery of the economy like which we suffered last year because of pandemic, and whether various economic issues faced by the nation are suitably addressed or not. So therefore, these may be views and counter views insofar as budgets are concerned. But I think that insofar as budget of this year is concerned, there cannot be any debate about it. If I may quote what Palkiwala said way back in a budget speech, which he used to give every year, and today's our Palkiwala is Mr. Girish Ahuja, and he said in respect of budget of 1984-85 that there are two types of persons who frame the budget: the thinkers and the structuralists. Most officials in the finance ministry have always been thinkers. This year's budget presents the handiwork of uh, a structuralist who realizes that mere tinkering is useless unless the underlying structure of the fiscal system is made sound. This budget represents a mood, the people's new mood of optimism and self-confidence. This is what he said about 1984-95 budget, and I think that was a mood that and of the entire nation for last number of months, and the entire nation was eagerly awaiting for this budget. And therefore, the budget which was presented or which has been presented in this year cannot be dismissed as a mere annual ritual. Merit of a budget needs to be discussed from the prism shown by Mr. Palkiwala, and I have quoted above. And this becomes, as I said, all the more important in view of pandemic, which swallowed our economy or the fiscal year last year, 2020-21, which totally finished due to this pandemic. And everybody knows what kind of problems which we faced. I don't have to say so in detail, but we know industry got a big hit, whether it was production sector or service sector. Some of the service sectors were, particularly hospitality and aviation, were almost they almost wiped out for few months with no activity at all. Then small scale industries and MSMEs, they were worst affected, and this all resulted in big time unemployment as well. And with this big time unemployment, not that I mean it's only the persons in high position, but most affected were these migrant laborers and poor persons. And another effect which has the effect on the social fabric of this country is that the gap between rich and poor, that has been widened, and people have seen, and particularly those who are of socialist mind, they see that, look, it has not affected, pandemic has not affected rich person to that extent. Rather, some of the categories belonging to in the rich persons category, they have rather progressed. But insofar as the poor persons are concerned, they have become more poor, and the gap between rich and poor has been widened. And another aspect which or ill effect of this is that the issue of health issues and literacy issues which came to fore, that look how much we should take care of health aspects also, then, and what is the responsibility of the government. And if I may say so, as I said, as a student of constitutional law, that our constitution imbibes the values of liberty, equality, and fraternity. We have evolved a concept of a nation which ensures equal and free citizenship for the oppressed. It dreams of an inclusive trope for all those struggling for recognition amidst adversaries. So no doubt, India has made a lot of progress in last 74 years. Of course, last year was an exception in that sense. And but the question is whether we have been able to give everything to all sections of the society also or not. Whether we have been able to generate a society which is egalitarian society. But having said so, a very big debate in the context of and that's the issue which I am throwing open for discussion as well, which a very important issue that arises is from the point of view of political economy, as I said, and the strategy of the government, that what should be the measures, what should be the steps which are needed in order to not only ensure that there is an economic progress, India comes back on the path of economic recovery, but at the same time, as I highlighted, it gets percolated, this progress gets percolated to the people at the lower level also, and it encourages the poor and marginalized section of the society as well. So then there are two views of it, and it all depends upon the political thinking, as I said. The many persons who belong to say socialist, they have socialist ideas. They say that no, there should not be any government policies which don't take care of the poor. On the other hand, the capitalist view may be that look, if there is a progress and the business prospers, the economy gets boost, then the persons at the lower level will automatically get the advantage as well. Yeah, unless there is an economic progress, where's the question of distributing doles to the people. If I may say so, this was said again by Mr. Palkiwala in respect of one of the budget, and he said the question is, does the budget resolve the problem of poverty or does it merely recycle the problem? Do we want a budget for jobs or a budget for doles, a budget for self-help or a budget for state help? So that is very, very important. And in this context, what is the approach which has to be taken, and what should be the strategy which should have been adopted? And one, as I said, that the insofar as various provisions are concerned, the speakers will speak about it. But one message which the present budget has given is that it's a vehicle for recovery of the economy and a vehicle for making it get well and get well soon. And in that, keeping that in mind, the focus is on privatization and government spending. If you see, that is what has been highlighted by many. And I heard Mr. Shekhar Gupta yesterday last, because in his print he gives a talk, and what he said that it's a dream budget. A person like Shekhar Gupta praising the government is a big thing. Let me be very frank about it, because he's a honest journalist who would call spade a spade, and if somebody needs to be appreciated, he'll appreciate that also. He said it's a dream budget from political economy point of view, and he said that it is the third dream budget. First, he said in 1991, Narasimha Rao government budget, when the liberalization took place. Other, he said that in Bajpayee's government in I think 2000 2001, when he said that it was a dream budget with privatization and going ahead with that. And this is that another budget where the government has stressed on the government spending. Of course, as was said earlier by the earlier speakers, that it is not that the people were thinking that there may be further taxes, at least the persons with higher income, in order to have more money in the government's coffer. Or on the other hand, it was also expected that insofar as the persons with the lower income are concerned, there may be tax swaps for them, because what was discussed was that look, maybe when we give more to the persons, particularly middle class persons, for spending, and they are able to spend, it will boost an economy. This is one of the principles that yes, whenever the economy is in slump and there is a depression, you start spending more and it will reverse the circle of depression. But that has not happened. On the contrary, the government has taken a total different route of privatization, and that is very loud and clear. So how it is going to and with that in mind, many fiscal laws are also changed, and so therefore how the reforms in investor markets which have taken place, and how it is going to not only impact the economy in this coming year but in next few years also, is a matter to be seen, which will be a matter of public debate. But this was the aspect of political economy which I wanted to give. And because we have to speak or give our message in few minutes, so that is what I wanted to say and I have done. And I leave it to persons like Dr. Ahuja and others to take charge and dissect the budget and discuss the nuances of it. Thank you very much.
Let me tell you, sir, the former judge, of course, the Honorable Sir Arjun Sikri, had given one judgment when he was a High Court judge regarding 36 subsection 1 clause VA regarding that Provident Fund and ESI. And I had a talk with him at that particular time. Sir, why have you allowed that you have gone beyond the law? He said when the Provident Fund people, ESI people have no objection and they can take the money after that also, why this should not be allowed as per section 43B? Sir, 1213 High Court gave judgment on the basis of your judgment. Only one or two High Courts had given judgment against it. But today, that has been overruled by the...
I know that. That is the prerogative of the legislature.
Yeah, I know, sir. I know. That has been done away with. There was so much of dispute going on this issue. So thank you very much. That judgment was really a wonderful judgment, and many other judgments have been very good, I tell you. But that is what it is.
That's the government thinking, and that is what I said, policy.
Like if you are appreciating Shekhar Gupta, I will appreciate the judge of the Supreme Court if appreciating this budget, and he is always, about excellence. So I think it must be a good dream budget. Thank you very much, sir. Now, Ravi.
Thank you, Justice Sikri. Thank you very much for giving a very holistic view regarding the budget. The views echoed by you, I think, are well appreciated. The important issues that you have raised regarding the budget and the budget policy making, I think this will help and should be kept in mind by the policymakers while drafting the budgets in future also. Thank you so much, Justice Sikri, for being with us today at such a short notice and giving such a beautiful exposition of the budget. Thank you, sir.